coming out, because you could be anywhere else but here, but you took some time out, whether you're feeling good, not feeling good, in your feelings, or whatever may be going on in your life right now. We definitely appreciate you. Me and Kenya definitely appreciate you on behalf of NAMI Atlanta Auburn for just coming out. We're going to have a real dialogue. We definitely want you to ask questions. If you feel like sharing experience, if it's for yourself or for a loved one, we just want for you to be able to just feel comfortable, be in a place of feeling comfortable. If you do not, let me say you don't. If anything that we speak on perhaps may trigger you, you're more than welcome to just step outside and get yourself together, because I personally understand that it's not an easy thing to share in front of people, whether you know them or not, your life experience, especially when it comes to mental illness or having a mental health issue. So let me introduce myself. I was born Aisha Brown, however, I prefer to be called Jade. That is a name that for a very long time I would tell people, hey, yeah, somebody, kind of blessed me with that name, and it was wonderful and it was great, but I had to get myself to a place in being authentic. If I talk about I want people to be authentic and genuine with me, then I must do that in order for people to welcome everyone, in order to have people respect me. So I bless myself with that name, Jade. I have, and it's been with me for years. So it fits me, it fits my personality, it fits my uniqueness. I like to say that I'm a unique person. I don't feel that the mental illness disease is me, but I've been learning how to control this mental illness or mental health issue or disorder that I have. I see it as a spiritual blessing, to be quite honest. That's where I got my place too. So I am a part of NAMI Atlanta Auburn. I've been to a few others, but NAMI Atlanta Auburn is my home. I've said that NAMI has saved my life. When I left Philadelphia, where I'm from, and moved to California, I had to wind up coming back on the East Coast because of my daughter originally, and I reached out to NAMI. I don't remember how I got there, but I was led there. And 9 years later, it's been a blessing for me. Can't speak for anyone else, but it's been a definite blessing for me. It's got me to a place where it is supportive. I have met some supportive people. I like to be just transparent, so we could just be honest. At first I was a little hesitant because, I'm one of those people who I still have trust issues today. So it's very difficult when you have to open up to people because you don't know how people are going to receive you. They may look at you in a strange way and they say, she's crazy, or she needs to take her meds, something like that. The not so nice stuff that people say or even do for that matter. But NAMI, in general, has been very good to me. I am now the program board chair for the NAMI Atlanta affiliate, and just very appreciative, even if it's good, bad, or indifferent. At the end of the day, I'm very appreciative for being a part of NAMI. And I'm going to have my co-presenter introduce herself.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
My name is Kenya Phillips. I'm the peer program coordinator at NAMI Georgia, but on a deeper note, I've been connected to NAMI since about 2009, I believe. And it's been a journey. I am a person who lives, eats, and breathes recovery. Recovery is very real to me. It's my personal experience. It's my interactions. It's just how I vibe. A little bit about NAMI Georgia before we dive into our deep recovery dialogue, if you will. NAMI Georgia has an array of signature programs, meaning programs that families can connect to or peers can connect to. We have what's called Connections, which is a support group. We have what's called Peer-to-Peer, which is an 8-week recovery. It's an 8-week recovery enhancement group where you can learn more about mental health diagnosis, how to engage in dialogue with their psychiatrist and or loved ones or a counselor. But deeper than that, you get to learn more about how to engage in recovery for yourself. Also, we have In Our Own Voice, which is a very popular program because it's what myself and Jade are doing here today is the recovery dialogue piece. Ending the Silence is a shorter version of it for the young adults. If it's young adults, meaning ages 18 through 35, we have what's called Ending the Silence for Young Adults, where you can also engage in recovery dialogue, but the difference is, unlike In Our Own Voice, you can engage anywhere in the community that you select to choose within the state of Georgia or abroad if you're asked to go to another state. Ending the Silence is primarily right now connected with the Department of Education, where persons who are educators and or young adults can go into the school systems and educate persons on mental health diagnosis as well as mental health platforms to advocacy skills for mental health. Gotta take my cheat sheet, get tongue-tied. We also have NAMI Home Front for people who are veterans or family members of veterans who would like to learn more about mental health. We have Family to Family, which is more so for family members who would like to know more about mental health conditions and evidence-based practices. We also have Family Support Group, which is huge, a huge platform because a lot of times family members also need support. It's easy for family members to get burned out just in the process of caregiving for loved ones also. So we try to create healthy balances for everybody. But those are some of our key programs that we have, and then we have some other ones like NAMI Provider, NAMI, what's the other one? NAMI Basics also. So it's an array. So I would say at the closure, when we get to the end, if you all would like to connect, anybody here would like to connect, we have Jade, who's here representing Atlanta Auburn. We also have Miss Joanne also, who's here, who's president for Atlanta Auburn. So I just say, let's get ready, let's dive deep, but most importantly, let's be open to the resources that are available to us.
Thank you. Again, we definitely welcome you here. So we're, again, for new faces that came in, my spill earlier was that once me and Kenya start sharing our lived experience, if you feel uncomfortable, you're certainly welcome to step out for a breather, and we hope that you come back and, return in. So, and trust me, I have anxiety right now, but there's no way you would ever tell it, because in my head I'm just sending prayers and chants and mantras up to the universe above to help me get through this, because as many times as I've done In Our Own Voice, each time is a challenging time for me because it's my lived experience, and I just want people to feel what I feel and be able to identify it. Even though I know sometimes you can and sometimes you can't, it can be a little challenging for me anyway. So where I start at, well, I pretty much always felt like I was a unique person in my own right, even though a lot of times I was told that I wasn't nothing, you're light skinned, you're ugly, just a lot of bad names that people from a very young age have said to me that I did not understand then. And when for me, especially being an only child, I didn't know how to stand up for myself. I let people run over me, I let people pretty much beat me up every day going to the bus stop. So that was something that I had to deal with. So at the age of 3, first let me say, I live with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I live with major depression, schizoaffective disorder. Schizoaffective disorder meaning, if you don't know, that I see things that people don't see and I hear things that people don't hear. Again, I take everything that I have as a blessing from above. I don't use it as a crutch. I use it to do what I'm doing right now as a platform to share my story with people. So at the age of 3, I had a family member from 3 to about 7 or 8 years old sexually molest me. I didn't know that it was wrong because I was young, and nobody told me that it wasn't wrong. So I just went with it. And that individual he made me feel like it was okay because I didn't know that it was wrong at that young age. So this went on again from about 3. It started at 3 and it ended, I want to say 8 for sure. at the age of 8. I never told my mother because I was raised in a household, especially let's be honest, in a black household, in an indigenous, melanated black space. What's done in the house stays in the house. A child is you speak when you're spoken to. You didn't share those things because I felt like at such a young age that if I would have shared that, I would have gotten punched, beat. I have to be honest. It's not a whipping. We didn't whip back in the day. We beat with belts, switches. George was my belt's name. I still remember to this day. George was the belt. You pull off the tree, you pull off the leaves. You had iron cords. You had whatever, let's be honest, you had whatever was supposed to have been used. This is not a platform where I talk bad about my mother, but I have to be honest about what happened in my household. Let me say today, my mother lives 83 with progressive dementia, and I will go to jail for her. I love her unconditionally because she's the one who birthed me. But there were some issues in the house. So I'm a military baby. My dad was in the Marines. But again, there was a lot of verbal, emotional, physical abuse that went on in my household. My mother had it down to a T where she beat me where you wouldn't see the scars because those were covered up. She just was and who she was, and later on in life I found out it took her to when she first got, right before she got diagnosed, to tell me that she too was molested by an uncle. And so it was kind of generational, and that's just how our family dynamic was. Moving forward, as I began to get older, I was teased. My outlet was, let's run track, let's get involved in activities. One, because I didn't want to go home to it, so I wanted to stay out as late as I could, and I know the only way that I could was to get involved with school activities, so that's what I did. It was my outlet at that time, you know, from being in junior high and high school, and it made me feel good to just do something else different. I was a teen mom. I had my daughter at the late age. I got pregnant at 18, had her at 19, so that's the later teen, but still I was a teen because a lot of the church members, and I was born, bred, and raised in church, and I'm not here to knock church. I was born and bred from the belly of my mother in church. And so there were a lot of things that I was curious about, and when I would ask, the first thing that they would do was put me in a circle and pray the demon out of me, because one, I asked questions, and two, I was pregnant, and that's just what that was, and they did that my whole 9 months. I was banned from anything in church because that's what their belief was back then, and I was very miserable. My mother didn't come to and accept my pregnancy probably until I was in my 8th month, and so that again was, you know, emotional abuse for me because I needed my mom at such a young age. She wanted me to abort my child as well as some other family members and friends of the church, but I declined because I wanted that life. I wanted to feel like I was something, because for a long time I didn't feel like I was anything. And so again, moving forward, I've had, you know, bad relationships, physical, verbal, even financial, as well as sexual. There is sexual abuse, if you did not know that. It is sexual abuse, someone who's in control, who tells you when you can have sex, even if you don't want it. So I went through that. So having my first daughter was the beginning of growing up and learning to stand up. I had my son in my 20s, in my early 20s, I had him. And by the time I had him, he was a feisty something. By the time I had him, I had to grow up. I was a mom of 2 kids and had to grow up because I couldn't blame anyone. That was my responsibility for laying down. And so now I'm a parent, I'm a young parent of 2 kids. They are 4 years difference. Again, just tons of verbal and all of the abuses that you can think about. And so people would tell me just to, you know, get out the relationship. And sometimes, you know, I spoke about this earlier, sometimes, you know, when you feel like you're in love, you're complacent or you think that you can't do no better. Even if you get physically abused, you feel like, oh, that person won't do it again because he or she loves me. And I had to get to a place where I was tired of being tired, of being tired, of being tired. So once I got to that place, I started doing me. And eventually, I started learning what it was to love on myself and respect myself and know my worth and my value, which still, till today, I'm still a work in progress because sometimes I don't feel like I am, but I have to take a step back. I've also experienced being raped at a young age. In '92, I was raped and robbed. I thought that, raped and robbed. A friend was with me, well, a former friend. A former friend was with me at that time, and she just left me. We were on our way to work, and it happened, and she left me. And I've had to go through a series of counseling and things like that. I'm also dual diagnosed, meaning that I'm also in recovery of crack cocaine. I've been clean for 12 years now, and I'm very, very proud of that.
There you go.
I've never, through everything, I've never felt like anybody had to, oh, woe is me, Jade, because that's not my focus. My focus was making sure that I take care of my well-being. Also, let me say, I'm an ex-felon. It is what it is. I don't look at my past. My ex-felon comes from somebody tried to hurt my babies when they were young. And I, as a parent, felt like I needed to do what I needed to do. And so I'm not ashamed of that. But today, I can work anywhere I want to, and I know that's only for the universe creator above, because I should not be at the government job that I'm working right now. But I know that above, I was looked out for. So I just try to come out here, and I just try to speak because I'm like Kenya. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm like Kenya. I live, breathe, eat this. Whoever I can talk to that will listen, I'm glad. Because I feel like, NAMI and individuals that's in it doing family to family, like Joanne does. I do connection peer-to-peer. Kenya's at NAMI, Georgia. Someone I'm sure that we have reached. It's just a shame people look at mental illnesses, especially in our community, our minority or black or indigenous, however you want to name it, our community, because this should be filled like a big auditorium. It should be filled to capacity, but it's not. But I am grateful that you guys are here, and this is what we speak on, that we need more people to reach out to and get the word out and and have resources, because you would never know I've been homeless, never know I've lived under the bridge, been in the streets, sold my body, did whatever I did, because this is not the look. People look and say, you? Well, yeah, people, it's a lot of stigma, it's a lot of shame, it's a lot of fear. People are fearful, and I do get it, because a lot of people are not so nice. They just are ready to tear you down. They see the typical homeless as the people hanging on the streets or stinking and things like that. And mental illness or mental health awareness, it doesn't have a face. We're professionals, we're college graduates, we have degrees, we have businesses. We're not just those people who are on the street. So I just want to stop where I'm at and have Kenya share her story with you as well.
Thank you, Jade.
Thanks, Jade.
Thank you.
Way to go, Jade.
Jade and I go way back. And I have to say this before I dive in. Jade, I was scared to death when I first started doing, it was a class that we were teaching peer-to-peer, as well as we did connections together. And I was just like, how you go through the process of learning a system, but then it's time to implement what you learned. I was like, ready, set, what? And I actually, and Jay and I laugh about it now, because I'm one of those people that I try to operate by integrity. Like if I say, like the old school way of doing things where you shook hands. And I actually shook hands with a gentleman over at the NAMI DeKalb location, which is in Henry County, which is under the umbrella of NAMI DeKalb, which is one of our affiliates. And it was myself and another young lady who originally was supposed to start a support group, but something came up educationally with the other person. So I asked Atlanta Auburn, which is where Miss Joanne is, and I asked them that location if I could come out and just observe, because it had been a minute for me to get my feet wet. Well, Jade so kindly also, not only did I observe, but Jade so kindly came out there with me and supported me in my transition since the other person backed out. And it all started, like I said, with a handshake. And it's so many people don't operate with integrity these days, so it felt good to keep my word and to still be blossoming as other people around me, because I try to really keep a teachable spirit as well. So thank you, Jay, for journeying with me all these years. As it relates to my story, recovery is so real to me. I remember, like when I was just started out with NAMI, and even before NAMI, I was attending Clark Atlanta University, and that's when I learned about mental health. And the reason I say that is because it was at Clark Atlanta my junior year, summer of my junior year, and I was having a hard time sleeping. I was having a hard time with anxiety. I remember not even wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to bathe, not wanting to do anything. It's just like I felt this space. It was this space that was beyond exhaustion, which many people call this numbness effect. I had no idea I was dealing with psychosis. I had no idea I was dealing with bipolar or schizoaffective. All I knew is I was very tired. Many people, when I share my story, they say, well, what was happening before the symptoms showed up? Well, what was happening is I was in overload. What that looks like is I was taking 21 credit hours the semester before the summer hit. I was a resident assistant, had the nerve to think I was going to get in a sorority that term. And then I had a boyfriend, and then I come from 7 generations of ministers, so knew where I was expected to be at on Sunday. But then in between that, it skipped a generation. My dad was into the club business, so on Saturdays I was at the club. So it was just like, do you think I slept? It was more like a blink for me, because I didn't know what sleep and true rest looked like. I didn't know how to relax or anything. So when that summer hit, it's like I literally crashed from within. And I remember, as I shared with many people from before, my mother, it was like one particular day, my mother, she was going to the store, and I have a brother who's 6 years younger than me, so he was like in high school and everything, and she tells my baby brother, which I thought at the time was kind of weird, to watch me until she got back to the store. The thing that was kind of weird about that, the store was like the distance from going to one end of this building to the other end. So I was, in my head, even though I couldn't articulate it at the time, I was like, why is she telling my baby brother to watch me? I'm older than he is. It was an insult. But she had mother's intuition. She knew, she felt something, but she also knew she had a need to get to the store. So in between the time period, she goes to the store and comes back. She opens the door, and literally, that's when the psychosis just got worse. I was seeing things on the wall. I was having hallucinations. I was having delusions. And immediately she dialed 911. Right in that same time period, that's when the medics got there soon after, and then ambulances, like I said, the medics, police officers came too, because she was describing to them what was going on, so the police officers came too. Crisis intervention, as we all know, was not very popular back then, because that was like 96, because it was summer of the 96. But they weren't as bad as most people's experiences. They did handcuff me. It was storming outside. They did escort me into the ambulance. They was basically just trying to make sure I was of no harm to myself beyond what I was seeing. But in that moment, I felt abandoned. I felt isolated, and I felt as if my mother forgot me, because she had to leave me with them, and she was like, she was going to drive and meet me there, but nobody's telling me what's going on in all these moments that are happening. So as I was going through all of that, I just remember the hospital, and I know Jade probably remembers her hospital visits too, but that hospital visit, it was different from the regular hospital. This is a psychiatric hospital. So not only was I on what's those beds called where you like, it's like I was basically in a bed, but they had my arms.
Restraints.
Yeah, they had the restraints on me. And I didn't understand why. So I had I had all these questions going on in my head, still like, what's going on? So it wasn't until medications were introduced to my body and the counseling session started while I'm still inpatient that I began to get an answer to the questions I couldn't quite get out. Because in that same time, all that time from being at home to getting to the hospital, I was complete opposite of my normal self. I'm normally a talkative, sociable person, but I was totally withdrawn. And I felt like if I opened my mouth, I was betraying myself within. That's what was going on in my head. So after about, I think I was there about 3 weeks my first time, and I wasn't diagnosed with bipolar or schizoaffective during that visit. The first visit was chemical imbalance because, as many people know, you have to get diagnosed a couple of times or have a couple of breakdowns, if you will, before you get a diagnosis. So after that particular situation, I think it was probably, three more episodes happened every 3 years like clockwork until my daughter got here. I was having breakdowns. Something just kind of speeding it up a little bit from the what happened stance. Was all that was going on, the psychosis, the delusions, the over involvement in things, the people pleasing, the stress, which it stress induced situations. I still had to kind of navigate through that space. So I had a father and a mom, even though they were divorced, they still tried to be present with me in that space, and my brother tried to be present with me in that space. But I'm gonna pause because I just want to share this one little other piece with you. Jade was talking about what goes on in this house stays in this house. That part is so real because even though I was dealing, I didn't know nothing about NAMI. I didn't know nothing about all these other nonprofit organizations that were going on. So I felt really alone, if that makes any sense. And when I got back to Clark, Atlanta, like after that summer, I felt more alone because all of my so-called friends, now they're in their sororities, or they're doing other things, internships, fellowships, and things like that. It just felt like it was a disconnect. And then they was like, keep what you do for the summer. Even though I worked still during the summer and was able to press, if you will, I just felt like I had this secret, this dirty little secret that I just couldn't share because if I shared it, I was going to be more misunderstood than I normally was. Because before the diagnosis, it was nothing for, you know how people kind of casually be like, oh girl, you're so crazy. They just, be like, now when I would hear the word crazy, I'm like, what? It was like fighting words or something. It didn't sound the same, if that makes sense. And when I got back, I went from being a size 8, 6'8", in clothes, depending on how the clothes would fit, to a size 20, all within 3 months of being out of school. It was like the meds, I was craving like all get out. So it was like a complete change. And even though I can laugh about it now, during that time period on the what's happening segment part, I think the hardest thing for me was when I got back to school and people thought I was pregnant and I wasn't, just because of the severe weight gain. And I would kind of laugh it off and then I would say stuff like, can a person get pregnant and be about to deliver within 3 months? And I'll be sarcastic about it. But inside it was like, really, you have the nerve to come to me and even ask me that? And then, I got to the point where I wouldn't even respond and just be like, it's not even your business. But it just hurt to have to go through all of that, plus just dealing with the mental health stigma as a whole. So I'm going to pause and turn it back over to Jade, and we'll continue the other portion in a minute.
So I can definitely identify with Kenya because I've had suicidal thoughts quite a few times. Twice I've actually, probably 3, I want to say 2 to 3 times I actually went through. But again, the universe as I know it, definitely my purpose, it wasn't time for me to go. I've taken several pills. I've been a cutter. I've been trying to starve myself, or what's the word? Purge. Yeah. That's the word, purge. I will eat, feel bad, throw it up, eat, feel bad, throw it up. It just was a repetitive cycle that I felt like I couldn't stop. And knock on this table, I have not purged in probably at least 6 months. I have not purged. And it's just one footstep, one day at a time. I live in an environment where if I wanted to get high, it's readily accessible to me, but I have a different perspective on life than I did before, because my life does matter. Like all you guys, your lives matter. My life matters. So I just do what I do. I stay out, I get myself involved to the point I'm so exhausted when I come in, all I want to do is go to bed. But I know when it's my time, I know that the Creator will guide me where I need to go to. And I keep saying universe, Creator, God, because my spirituality means everything to me. It never did before. It never mattered to me before. I just kind of winged it because and probably sounds funny, but you know, being brought up from the belly, it should have mattered. And maybe it did, I'm not sure. But I've been the person that's always seeked for more. I always thought that there was more out here in my spiritual path. I no longer say religion, but that's just my personal thing. But I know in perspective that it just kind of coincides when you think about it. So I say, you know, I walk my path, or I walk my spiritual path. Because I believe if I didn't believe in whatever I believe to my understanding, I wouldn't be here with you guys right now to speak about it, because that first and foremost comes first for me and everything else is secondary. But it's when you hear the voices, and that's real. I don't, you know, I'll say that's a spirit. It's real for me, because when I hear those, that devil, like I said earlier, like have the devilish functions on one side, or the devil and the angel on the other side, or the bad and the positive on each side, and you hear those voices telling you, jump out that window. Jump out right now, because you're worthless. You don't mean anything. Your family doesn't want you. Your loved one doesn't want you. They don't care about you. Jump out that window. They won't miss you. And you to that window where your face is on that window. And if it just didn't, my I don't want to say ritual, but for right now, for a better word, my ritual that I do to just kind of pull me back, to know that I can sit here, that's a blessing. It's a blessing when I tell people, when you wake up, if it's nothing else but just be thankful. You woke up. Regardless if you have a cold, if you got a headache, if you got something going on, you woke up, you opened your eyes, because somebody, unfortunately, wasn't their time and they didn't wake up. So be thankful, you know, for every day that you're able to wake up. And also, you know, I say as well, don't go to bed mad. Like, that's another thing that I had to train myself, because I would go to bed mad, I go to bed hateful, and I don't like using hateful, but that's where I was once upon a time. Don't go to bed hateful, because you never know what's going to happen through your night. So, but yes, what helps me? What helps me is not only NAMI, going to group, even though I'm a facilitator, but believe me, when they come and they share their stories, that gives me hope and confidence that another day I'm going to be able to push through. Going to outside groups besides NAMI, going to my CA, Cocaine Anonymous, going to my NAs, Narcotics Anonymous, going just to, if I have a good support person, which is filming right now, that is my ace, boom, okay? Just everything. Everything, because some people don't have support, and that's real. Some people do not have support. So if you're able to have a support, a husband, a wife, a significant other, a partnership, use it, utilize it in the best possible way. Also, I go to groups, Joanne, we have our indifferences, but hey, that's life. We move forward and move on. Because I listen to her, she listens to me. When me and Kenya connect, we do the same. And just, you know, whatever's positive for me, because I've learned, I've had so many toxic people in my life that I didn't even know they were hating me. And I didn't even know it, because all I wanted at that time was friends. I just wanted to have people around me. And you don't have to have a lot of people around you. You have real, authentic, genuine people, only if it's a few. Embrace that, okay? I love music. I love art. I'm a very open, we're Pisces, so I'm very diverse. I love a lot of positive things. I do have a therapist. I do have a therapist, not ashamed of that. I have two, to be honest. I have a brand new one I just got, so I'm filling her out, and I have one that I've been with for a while because I'm working on anger, because I'm angry. I'm angry. My father passed, and it's not because of him transitioning, passing on, but because I didn't get a chance to see him because family didn't allow me to get to where he was to see him. They said some very nice, not so nice words to me, so I didn't get a chance to see him. Eventually, I did get to Florida where he lived to try to make some kind of peace and not be mad, but I'm still struggling with that. I haven't really grieved, so I seek therapy for that. I seek therapy even for my mother. I'm grieving for that even though she's alive, but I don't know how to deal with her with dementia. When you're used to having a parent that's been so alive and vibrant and independent, and now they're like a child. And where there's times where she doesn't even remember me, and I have to hold it all together for her because I don't want to see her, I don't want her to see me break down because that's going to trigger her to break down. So I have to stay strong, and then when I leave her, I'm like, oh. So that's very hard for me. So I'm getting therapy for that. It's getting a little bit better, but again, it's a work in progress. Just trying to have a better parent, mother, daughter, son relationship because of my kids who are also diagnosed. So I'm a caregiver of grown people, 33-year-old and a 29-year-old that they live with a diagnosis that now they don't deal with it as far as seeing therapy. My son is incarcerated. He gets out in September, but it's been a repetitive thing because of his mental illness. People have teased him since the age of 2 from him being molested as well as my daughter being molested. They were at 2 and 6 years old. So they didn't, once they turned 14 in Philly where I'm from, back then, after they were 14, they didn't have to. They actually had the choice, go figure that, actually had the choice to stop having therapy, and they chose the choice to stop having it. So I couldn't make them. So they've learned how to deal with it in not so good ways, where for him it's kept him incarcerated. For her, it's a little bit different. She feels like she needs people around her a lot of times. That's not good. So I'm trying to deal with that as well in therapy and just getting my life together again to be the best me that I can create myself to be and not go back to, bad habits. I'm going to turn it over to Kenya.
Got me liking that story. This is good though. And it's healthy also to be able to share. For me, what helps is definitely the therapy process and counseling. And like you, I'm getting ready to transition to another counselor because for some strange reason, and this may sound funny, but I'm still trying to get the joke in it. It's like every practice I've gone to is always shut down. Every last one. I'm like, what the? So I'm going to another one to get some counseling support, med management, as well as the thing I like about this location is they also do marriage counseling as well as they do family counseling and one-on-one counseling. The one-on-one counseling definitely, and then the other is needed. But I find it very empowering to have all in one. The other things, you already know, we're connected with NAMI. So NAMI definitely helps from the standpoint of being able to participate in support groups. Even though I'm a leader in some aspects, I have learned, believe it or not, within the last year, the power of assertiveness on a whole nother level. And the power of knowing it's okay to show up in a support group and get support and not always have to be in a lead seat. I had to learn the power of delegation because I was transitioning into different roles. So I couldn't be in the same roles I once was unless I wanted to experience the same thing I did when I was at Clark Atlanta. So it's been a growing season for me, a healthy growing season. It doesn't feel good all the time, but it's been healthy. And a lot of times when I go out in the community, when I do, my daughter, she'll tell you in a heartbeat, she'll be like, Mommy, supporting NAMI, her supporting me with NAMI is like me supporting her with gymnastics. And that's how she put it in a metaphor for me. When she said it, I was like, I have no excuse other than to bring you with me, unless it's a closed setting or something, or you in school. Because she's like, no. I'd be like, you want to go to grandma's house? You want to hang out with mom? So I'm hanging out with my mom. So I was like, all right. So, and I'm learning, because how will she know what's going on with me if she's not with me sometimes? So she's been one of my biggest cheerleaders outside of my husband, who I've been married to for 13 years now. So it's been a real journey.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. It's been a real journey.
How's the relationship?
How's the relationship? The relationship, so just that word you used earlier, Jade, and I use that one a lot. It's been a work in progress. It hasn't been easy. It's been very supportive in the sense that he listens. He's compassionate in that he listens. And we, like a lot of couples today, when we took our wedding vows, we took them bad boys seriously. We could be mad as all get out, and then we'd be like, wait a minute. He may be like, I'm going to give you some space, get in the car and just drive somewhere. I might be like, I need to go in the other room and just breathe if it's a moment, because it's not perfect. But at the same time, she keeps us glued. She reminds us of like, hey, she'll bring it back to the elementary level. Be like, all you got to do is just listen to each other. And we'll be like, so, sometimes it's just remembering, just listening to the mouths of the babes. So I can't put it any other way. But also, what helps me is having structure. Having a sense of structure, having a routine. One of the things we're doing at my job right now is, I don't know how many people have heard of Steve, I hope I say it right, Steve Covey. But he's an author and everything, 7 Habits of Leadership and 7 Habits and all that. He has a lot of different books out, but the key thing I wanted to pull from that as I'm talking to you all is that his book, because we're reading his book on my job at the NAMI Georgia office, but we also have the calendar to support the book. So we're not reading it all like in one time. We're like doing a chapter, maybe like a chapter a month or something. Because it's a lot to digest. You could be like, dang, I can take notes on each sentence. It's a lot, but it's helping me to realize what's important, how to prioritize better, how to recognize my self-worth in a whole nother way, how to find balance between work, business, and pleasure. Because I used to be like, everything, I used to be one of those kids, I would get in the car and be like, shoot, whatever, I'm finna go out of town. Or I'm finna get on a plane and go somewhere. But something about having a child, it checks you if you let it. And for me, it was a check of, I have to be more responsible. I can't expect her to be responsible if I'm not responsible. So for me, it's been a maturation, and it's helping me to keep balanced up here, because I realize if I don't do what I need to do to keep this in check, or don't take mental health days to keep this in check, I'm not going to be no good to myself or anybody else outside of my household, let alone in my household. So holistically, it's been a nucleus support.
What's the name of the book again?
The one I was saying? 7 Habits. Steve Covey.
And you keep saying NAMI?
NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness Incorporated. Yes, ma'am. That's the organization Jade and I represent, but it also is the organization that has the support group to help us in our recovery. And the thing I like about the support groups, and I know Jade can vouch for this too, is, how some people be like, it's a confidential setting, but it's a at the end. We truly believe in confidentiality when we have our support groups, because some people don't have a place to talk to anybody, so that's the one place they look. That might be the one reason they got out of bed that week. I know it was for me for a long time. So try to remembering our own, as we remember our own stories, it helps us to be of encouragement to other people. So yeah.
Definitely. I so agree in that. Stephen Covey.
Yeah.
We had that at my job. We had a training for the day. Highly effective people. We had that training at work, and I thought it was so beneficial for me too, because it makes me check myself as well. Like I own me. I own and take responsibility for myself, because I have to check myself sometimes. I have that self-talk where I'm like, girl, if you don't get it together and stop acting, So, I have to. And so what's the present going on for me or moving forward where I'm at right now? I'm working on myself, as I say, because I'm not perfect, nor do I claim to be perfect. I make mistakes. I say things that I shouldn't say, but I'm a human being at the end of the day, and I try my best to be the best self that I can be. Even though my kids are adults now, they're still my world, good, bad, or indifferent, and I have to, I have to be supportive of them. And I know, like I said, even for my mom, even through her dementia, I love when she remembers me, because that brings such a smile to me, because I am her only baby. So, but how I've been moving forward, again, spiritually starts first, my partner, her family, my close-knit family, NAMI, Joanne, Kenya. That's what helps. And learning, I've learned one thing. I've learned how to say no and be okay with that. You have to say no sometimes. It doesn't even matter if you have a diagnosis or not. You have to do what's right for you, okay? Because we're never going to please anybody. We could do everything that a person wants us to do, and it still won't be right for them. So regardless, I also say, like, there are a whole lot of undiagnosed people. Sure, there's a lot of people that have diagnoses, but there are a heck of a lot of people who are not diagnosed. I see it every day at work, every day out on the street, everywhere. So, we just want to come here and find out, like, from you guys when we're going to do our Q&A, like, what are your suggestions? How can we meet people? How can we reach out to people to, take that first step in, coming to a group? There's a lot of times where I don't say things at my group. I let the people come and talk, and they've said, you know what, I'm so glad that you just listened. Sometimes people just need somebody to listen to, because you never know if that person might not have wanted to kill themselves. You just don't know. You can't diagnose. So what has been working for me, like Kenya, I work full time. I have to have my personal space with my partner, have a small business. So trying to have all that incorporated to make sure that it works. For me, I'm a pro-choice, and the reason why I say pro-choice is I'm pro-choice to medicine. I no longer choose to take it because it has put me in places where man nor woman has ever been before. I have seen things, heard extra. I have just, like for me, the way my body is set up, it's made me more suicidal. It's made me more like I want to kill myself. I'll be right with you, sir. It's made me more homicidal, wanting to kill other people, and just emotionally all over. I've counted now, it's been 45 minutes I've been on. And I choose not to, but I would never, let me say it again, never ever tell anybody that you should not take meds, because if it's here to help you, then you do what you need to do for you, because we're all built differently. And if that cocktail works for you, that is going to save your life and your personal life, go ahead. For me, I look more for alternative holistic practices, which I've been working on, and it's been okay. But that's me. So that's what I've been doing, and just knowing, again, learn to say no when you have to. If you don't want to explain it, don't do it. Work on what you want to work on, like on my podcast I tell people, self-care is a priority. It should never be a choice. You take care of yourself. That should be your number one priority. Take care of yourself. Learn to love yourself. That goes for men too. Men may not speak about it as much as women speak and show it. Take care of yourself. Self-love yourself. Self-know your worth and your value. Whatever you're looking to pursue, I always say, like Nike, just do it. Step out on that fear, because that'll be the thing that's going to take you where you need to go to. Eliminate toxic people. That's what I've been doing, and it feels great. I don't apologize for it. I don't explain why. If we're not helping each other, then for me, we're just not there. So it's okay. It's not, I won't say it's necessarily personal like that, but it's for my mental, my well-being, what my well-being looks like. So, you know, just taking it one footstep at a time and enjoying and doing the things that I want to do.
That's what's up. Gotta give you love. Hold on just a second. We're gonna finish up this last part, then we're gonna go ahead and Harrison. One of the things for me, as you were talking, something that kind of resonated with me is the compassion fatigue. And I didn't realize until we had somebody come to speak at the NAMI Georgia office on myself and so many other people deal with compassion fatigue, which is really the last description you just shared. It's like you give and you give and you give, just kind of summarize it in the short, but it's nothing coming back in, or either you're just overextended. And I was like, when they spoke on that thing, I was like, wow. So it's like a certain has jumped up on a whole nother level. And one of the things I remember, I'm so thankful for the boss that I have, or my supervisor at my job, because she asked a question that I've never heard a supervisor ask before. It was like probably like 20 people present, and she goes, "How many of you all are scared to say no if I give you a assignment?" And it's like everybody's just kind of looking around like this, and I was laughing inside because I had just got through saying no, like to an assignment right before we had the meeting. And it wasn't so much as no was in a disrespectful manner, but when it comes to people who know me know, and Jade's the same way. When it comes to priorities, I believe work is a priority. Don't get me wrong, but my family still comes before the job. So I was noticing the first day of school is coming up for my daughter, and it was like I was getting asked to go to Savannah for an event, and I was like, I can't do that. That's my daughter's first day, and if anything goes wrong, it's usually the first day of school where they're looking to come home and go, whoop, this is what's going on. And I was like, that ain't gonna work. But I was proud of myself because I didn't wait till the nth hour to address the situation instead of, and just being proactive instead of reactive. But moving forward, as far as what's happening in this current space that I'm in, I did finish Clark Atlanta University. I had a lot of support with that movement, meaning my father, my mom, and just that family nucleus, because there was a lot of things going on in my head. And also just the environment, coming back, like I said, with the weight gain and stigma and not being able to have an outlet and people to talk to.
You did finish,
huh?
You did finish.
I did finish.
What's your major?
I'm gonna tell you. Thank you for asking too. My major was business administration, marketing, with a concentration in marketing, and I did go further. It was a couple of years later. I went further and I got a dual master's in Christian education and divinity. And from the educational track, I'm currently working on my doctorate on my second year. And this is one of my. I love the doctorate, and the reason I'm loving it the most is because it was nobody in my ear, except me just hearing from above. So I'm working on a doctorate in pastoral community counseling, and I'm a transfer student from Auburn because Auburn has recently closed down. So I'm at Liberty University, and they did accept most of my credits, and I'm also seeking to get credits for professional experience and backdrop.
I think that's commendable.
Thank you.
It's hard to have children go to school, work.
And NAMI's been very, very nice to me, because when I talked to one of my supervisors at NAMI, they was like, they don't do what they've been doing. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, they have the option to work from home 4 days a week, and you only have to be in the office once. That does not happen often. So I was just like, let me just be grateful. So it gives me some flexibility, but like again, I'm glad I was in the early part of the time, because it gave me the structure I needed so I could balance. And my husband's very supportive, and my daughter, she's very supportive. Say hey, Lexi.
What grade are you in? First grade? My goodness.
Yeah. So it's been a journey, but it's like Jade shared earlier, having that support, authentic support around makes a difference. And on the last note, I would have to say the parks, particularly Peanut Park, when it's like not all these events going on. I know that sounds kind of funny. I just like going to the park, hearing the ducks, watching them just kind of move around and just feeding the ducks. I remember one day I was feeding the ducks and I had to laugh at myself because I was like, dang, they're not eating no more. And then I looked up and said, dang, I gave them 2 things of bread. Not 2 pieces, but 2 things. Yeah, I was like, dang, the ducks ain't got tired of me. They was all went on, so I had to laugh because nature has a funny way of speaking to you even when you don't realize why. And I was just like, I guess it's time to go home. I got my little outlet in for the day. And now my daughter, she's always to the parks too. She's like, Mommy, when are we going to Piedmont? Because that's the one that has the water in front and everything and so many things to see. And so I really enjoy that. I enjoy spending time alone sometimes too. It could be a cafe, just getting a coffee or a mocha and just sitting there reading a good book or just sitting there and just observing the different magazines and just the different people that come inside. I like, and as much as I'm an extrovert at heart, I love quiet at times too. So sometimes I'll be like, is it a genetic thing where I think I'm an extrovert? But the extrovert part of me helps keep me stable too, because it gives me a chance to be socialized. Because during the week I'm at home most of the time, so it helps me just be like, when Jade was like, "Can you come out?" I said, "I might need to do that." You know, I was there in the back of my mind. I'm like, how can I get out of this? But I was like, I need to go because I haven't been around people in just in a pure format in a while. So it's a healthy experience. So thank you, Jay.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So we're now
into, and I'm an extrovert and an introvert, and a lot of people don't understand that either.
No, that's
So
wild,
I
but it's
definitely
true.
love to be out amongst people, be sociable, love to travel. It's the Pisces, it's the real
Yeah,
Pisces.
that's what it is.
Love nature, love to travel and all that. But when I want my leave me alone time, that's what it is.
Yes.
I want that, and it's not being mean. It's just sometimes you need that self space to yourself. You need that to just kind of regroup, as Whitney says, relax, relate, and release.
And also, I think
That's
too,
what
the
she says.
stimulation, you get so much stimulation sometimes from different people. Sometimes you just gotta be like, whoa, what's me, what's them?
Right, exactly. So thank you everyone for listening to us. We're gonna open up to question and answer time. What time is it? So I make sure I'm in compliance. 4. Cool beans. Okay, so I'm sorry?
5.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, if you could just kind of raise your hand and we'll be more than glad to answer your questions. Yes, ma'am.
What kind of therapy did you go through? Was it cognitive behavioral therapy or what?
So, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you. My apologies, ma'am. So, I've been through a variety of different groups and or therapy, and it's been cognitive, which is CBT, been to DBT. I've definitely been one-on-one. I have a psychologist and then I just have a therapist. So I'm using both, to be honest with you. I'm with Grady. My psychologist is at Grady, but I felt like I needed a little something different, so I have a counselor that I just started with like maybe 2 weeks ago. So we're still filling each other out, and it's addressing like just my whole life, what I've been through, what I thought I said I forgave, but I really didn't forgive because I'm still remembering it, and it's like making me angry. And so what we're tackling was the first probably I want to say top 2 things, the top 3 things, and I know one is grief for my dad that I have not grieved. I cried once, and the rest I've been angry, and I don't want to be angry anymore. I want to be able to release that and know that he's in a better place and that I'm in a better place here. Another would be dealing with my mom with dementia, because I don't know how to deal with that. I'm constantly like off and on with that. One minute I may think I have it good, and then the next minute I'm like, I'm crying just randomly. Like I can just be like, ah, ha, ha, and laugh and be good, and then the next minute I'm breaking down, crying, because I'm like, why did this have to happen to her? So I'm dealing with that. And the other is my PTSD from being traumatized.
Was that from the military service or was that?
No, so my PTSD was when I was molested as a child at 3 years old from a family, from a person, a friend of the family, and then I had got raped when I was in my early 20s and had physical abuse and things like that, just a lot of funky abuses, all kinds.
Did you find it odd when you were told that you had PTSD?
To be honest with you, I didn't even know what a PTSD stood for, even though they told me. All I knew was I needed some help. And as I got older and started going to groups, because NAMI here in Atlanta, I've heard of NAMI. I used to go to NAMI in Philly. We have a NAMI in Philly. So I started with them first. And then I didn't get back into NAMI, to be honest, until I moved to Atlanta from California. So once I start really learning what causes PTSD, then I'm like, oh, okay. Because I was so focused on my kids. When I got out of prison, I was like, I need to focus on my kids.
How long were you in prison?
3 years. Yes, ma'am.
But with the PTSD, it's mostly, people think it's mostly associated with a military thing, you know. And I've been diagnosed with PTSD
Yes,
from
ma'am.
the same thing.
Mhm.
And I'm going, I mean, I didn't have any bombs blowing around my head or anything like that.
Mhm.
I just found it kind of odd in the beginning to really accept that I had PTSD from something that happened 60 years ago.
Not at all, because when again, you know, and I understand a lot of people associate PTSD with being a veteran. Now I believe undiagnosed, because my father was a veteran, that he had PTSD. I can't even imagine what he's gone through.
Right.
He kept silent as a black man all of his life, pretty much.
Yeah.
My mother, who turned 83 this year, has
So
PTSD. And that was a combination of being diagnosed, but also her sharing that she got molested by an uncle and kept silent all her life.
I guess 2 questions, and then I'll let you for other people, but how do you think we can, as a culturally, as a group of black people, how do you think that we can get the message across that it's okay to say, I'm depressed? It's okay to say, I suffer from anxiety. You know, if you cut your finger, you know, I cut my finger and I'm in pain. I'm depressed and I'm in pain. So how do you get people to accept that it's no, you know, it's nothing ugly or bad, you're sick?
I'm turning back to you. I'll piggyback. 'Cause I know you have some.
Stop.
Because you
are?
know
Okay.
that
It's gonna come to me.
Okay.
in black society, well, I'm a little bit older than you guys, but I grew up with, you know, you don't talk about it. Nobody is crazy. You just, it's crazy or you're not crazy. That's what it
Right.
is.
I think what's happening now, and this is not to just kind of move on, if you will, but a lot of, I think society, this is just from my personal observation, society kind of piggybacks what they, or mimic, if you will, what they see on television and entertainment. So I'll bring that up only because we have a lot of entertainers coming out, the woodworks now, and they're sharing, which kind of softens the stigma, if you will. And now people are becoming more open. Not everybody. Faith-based communities are starting to go, we might need to have a conversation. NAMI has even have a faith-based program where we go into different faith-based communities, whether it's on the church level, whether it's on a Buddhist level, whether it's, it doesn't matter which denomination or which faith-based community, as long as the faith-based community is open to people coming out. I share all that because sometimes what we're overlooking is just being able to be authentic in our own homes. And a lot of that is the generational gap. So, like for me, I'm gonna use myself. I was probably the only one in my family, as far as like that first and second cousin, if you will, first two generations within my start to really just come out and just be like, this is what's going on with Kenya, this is what's happening with me, this is what I deal with. I have a cousin, and this really pissed me off because I couldn't understand why I was kept so quiet. I was outspoken, but my cousin, my first cousin, if you will, I just found out this year, probably less than 2 months ago, that she experiences a mental health diagnosis. Then you may be like, well, why should you be mad? The thing that was kind of the irony in the situation was when I had my breakdowns outside of that first one, who do you think came and picked me up? Her father. And would take me to the hospital. Because my dad was too far away, or my mom may have been at work. And he had the flexibility. So even though part of me was like, well, I respect the fact that he practiced discretion, the other part of me was like, it could have been we could have supported one another in this journey possibly. Our stories are different, yes, but in the same situation, it's the dialogue helped. So when we finally got to the dialogue, we were able to breathe because we already removed the stereotype. She was able to share part of her story with me. I was able to share part of mine, and we were able to see beyond whatever differences we had before. So I think it's encouraging. It's baby steps.
Yeah, it is. I mean, well, I don't know if we're in this part section where we're sharing now.
Oh, definitely. It's everybody's sharing.
Okay.
So yes.
I came from a home with a mother and a father. There was some dysfunction, but just having a mother and a father in the home, you know, in the 40s and the 50s was, that was a big thing because a lot of families were broken. And you just had mama there. But my mother and father were married for 43 years. He was an alcoholic, but he was a good father. I'm not mad with him because he reacted to the time that he was in, which black men were boys. And he went to work every day on the railroad, and he was a laborer. So he did hard work, and I realized all of this after I got grown. After, you know, in my 40s, my daddy was, he probably was depressed many times and couldn't talk about it himself, so he drank, you know, that got rid of his difficulties. He was abusive to my mother at times, but not when he was not drinking. He was a family man, you know. I was abused by, I guess he was somebody that my parents had bought the house from this man and his wife. She was a social worker. There were prominent people in the community, had a lot of real estate and whatnot. And she didn't have any kids, I didn't have any kids. And at 8 years old, she asked my mom if I could come and help her out sometime, you know, like cleaning and whatnot. And I wanted to, you know, get a little $1 a week, and that was my money at 8, you know. So that was my job. And I went to her after school every day, really. I think I got $3 a week. But he, you know, first intimate touch was from him. First intimate kiss was from him.
Your father?
Huh?
That was your father?
No, that's not my father. This is the man that we bought our house from. I guess I was kind of a smart little girl, and I had a sense that something was wrong with this behavior, but at the same time, I knew I couldn't tell anybody because if I told my mother, she was going to tell my dad. My dad was going to go and kill a man. That would have been it. My dad and my brother would have killed me. I didn't want that kind of trouble, so I became this stoic little girl who did what I had to do and just bared it all, you know. When she wasn't home, if she went to the store, that's when he would approach me. And at 8 years old, he would give me extra money, you know, and you know, that was okay with me too. Even though I knew something was wrong, I liked the money, I didn't like the feeling. And I remember, like, if I swept the sidewalk outside, it was cobblestone.
Right.
And I used to sweep the dirt from between the cobblestone just so it would take me a longer time before I had to go back in the house. I was trying to stay outside while she was shopping. See?
Pause for just a second, because I want us to be able to all communicate as a community, but also we're going to be able to hear from each other. The thing that I like about this kind of forum, and I know Jade has done these forums before too, is that we get a chance to hear from one another, but also pour into each other.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're listening to the different narratives, what's going to happen is we'll start to realize a lot of things were swept under the rug, even now, with a lot of us. So as we continue, not disrespecting you or anybody here by any means, I just want us to be able to all be able to, while we have a couple, probably, I want to make sure I can time check, it's 4:20.
Yes.
So we have the room for about another 40 minutes.
You want to give everybody a chance.
Yeah, and so we can all hear from each other too. And I want to say
And
thank you too.
I'll make this brief. I guess I started suffering from depression at that time. And I realized this after I got grown. I'm 74 now, and this was probably, I was probably in my late 40s or early 50s before I realized that I was depressed all my life. And I'm in therapy, and I have a therapist, and I have a social worker, and I love it. What I've been able to do is to find my authentic self. I've been able to find the little girl that used to be so happy, who used to be so active in school, but I kind of shut down after middle school, I guess they would call it. After 7th grade, I shut down. Here's a kid who makes all A's, and I started playing hooky from school. I would go to the park and stay in the park all day. One day, I stayed home, not knowing my daddy was going to stay home because that day he was sick. And I didn't want him to know that I was upstairs. I stayed in the closet all day. You know, I did not want him to know. But when this man died, I was 15, he was shot, and my mom said to me, she got a telephone call, and she said, Mr. Gibbons just died. And my response was, good. She looked at me, and I looked at her, and it was, what did you say? And that's when I told her, and she said, you should have told me. But I was protecting everybody, and I did the best I could to protect myself, but the real me disappeared completely. I started suffering from stomach pains in order to go home, you know, you get home easier than you can now. But my teacher would let me go home, and I tell my mama, stomach hurting, I can't go to work today. And I did some ugly things in my life that I'm not very proud of. And I think I was about 40 when I decided this man was dead and I was not going to let him control my life from the grave. You know, didn't have good relationships, never got married. You know, so mental health to me is something that I wish people would just come out and say it. I mean, we've got kids in school who won't take their meds, you know, and it may be able to help them. I've got a nephew who wouldn't take his meds. I've got a cousin who wouldn't take his meds. They don't see the benefit, or they say it makes them feel funny. You know, I've been on sertraline for the past 25 years, and it helps me. You know, fortunately, I'm not bipolar. I was just deeply, deeply depressed. So my objective was to find me, and I found me. And the one thing that I said, I'm not gonna ever be depressed again, because that's an ugly feeling. You know, stay in bed, it's just a bad feeling. And I just wish that this group will be able to go out and carry a positive message and encourage other people to come to sessions like this. You know, I came, when I saw it advertised, it was because I said, I want to understand better what other people are going through. I feel, you know, I feel like I've kind of conquered mine, but any minute, you know, if you slip, it can't come back. You have to be on guard. You know, and I really want to help people. I'd love to get involved with you, your organization.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we can certainly talk about that after. We want to respect those that have been raising their hands a couple of times.
Yeah,
but thank you. No, ma'am. Thank you. First and foremost, thank you for sharing that story, because we don't hear that from your generation.
Not at all.
At all.
It's
So
usually
I
the
thank
afterthought.
you. It's the afterthought, absolutely. Sir, we're going to go with you. If you can keep it brief, it's not a disrespect. We just want to make sure that everybody that has raised their hand definitely can ask a question or share a brief comment. So you can go ahead, sir, with the glasses on.
Okay, I always had a lot of moral heart, a lot of character, a lot of dignity. My father died when I was 7. My mom was 30 with 7 kids. She raised us all well. We were in Philadelphia. We wanted to stay after God, so we moved here. I probably had a PhD on the school in Puerto Rico. We moved to Puerto Rico for a year and back to Philly, New Jersey, South Carolina. I've been here.
So you speak loud.
I've been here since '76. I was involved in a lot of politics and dealing with people. I was filming, making good money out of high school. I met Mayor Jackson, the first black man of Atlanta. He looked at me at the corner of our camera, shook my hand, said, "How are you?" We talked for 4 seconds. I went and got my GED, and a year later I was getting on with the fire department. I was making, this is in the 70s, I was making $32,000, I was making $2 an hour. I was making $32,000 a year as a bellman. Went to make $14,600 as a fireman. Because you work a day, you off 2 days, you work a day, you off 2 days. So quite naturally, I came to the job driving a new car. After 2 months, I turned 23. After being in job 4 months, I bought a house in Midtown. I was searching for the missing murdered children where I could rank for so I can get Bill Cam on city council and the mayor. As mayor. So quite naturally, in that atmosphere, just going there, see a Klansman who's been on the job for 20 years, making like less than $4,000 more than me, and jealous of me because you're ambitious. And the thing about it, we were getting promoted to firemen, to trained firemen. Just it.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate that as well. Anyone else have a comment or thought that they would like to share about them personally? If you have mental illness, or you have a loved one or know someone that does, or even what do you think as a community that we can do to meet people where they're at, and you know, let them know the resources that are out here for us, because they're out here. But I know that, you know, a lot of people are embarrassed, they're ashamed, they're scared, and they don't want people to think that they're slow or crazy, or, you know, a lot of people may not want to be like, well, I don't want to take a pill for anything. So what are some, sir, you had your hand. What,
Yeah, I have a question. If you were interested in getting into the field of mental health, or say you're in it right now, but you may not have a credential, what's a way that I guess you can get more involved, and what are the avenues to, I guess, attain certifications, training, any type of facilitation and things of that matter? You know, because the reason I ask that is because I run into individuals that, you know, they're dealing with mental health issues and family members, and they can be mild, like, issues to, like, more severe, like people having suicidal thoughts. Just in general, people are, like, kind of out there struggling, and, you know what I'm saying? So,
You saying like, which is my educational platform?
yeah, education platform.
Definitely Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network. They have the peer certification process for people to learn more about their mental health diagnosis, as well as get paid to educate others, or as a full-time job or a part-time job, or a voluntary basis where they can go out and share and engage in recovery dialogue without having to go through a 4-year process, 6-year process, an 8-year process. So that's, they've been around for a while. It's Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network, or GMH. Am I doing right?
Georgia Mental Health Consumer, so GMH Consumer CN.
Yeah, I'm trying. Right, catching
And I'd like to add as well, the Atlanta Auburn affiliate, which is who Jade and I are a part of, we constantly operate under lack of, meaning that we should be able to offer every signature program that is in this bag, but we cannot because we do not have active members that will take the free training and then come back and give back to the community. So I would like you all to take down our website, and our website is www.NAMI, N-A-M-I, AtlantaAuburn.org, and it'll walk you through how you can participate in the various signature programs and become a part of our affiliate. We really need more individuals on the family support side, because right now we have 2 facilitators. I'm one, and I'm extremely burnt out because I also do this professionally. And so I've told my affiliate really clear that I'm giving it another 6 months, and if I don't get extra hands, then for me, I have to take a leave of absence just because I'm so burnt out. So I'm hoping that maybe today we can get some other individuals that will see the need, that will step up, get the free training, and come out to assist. And I just really, I'm so thankful to see the individuals that are actually here today. And thank you, Kenya, and thank you, Jade, for letting me be able to say that. Now I'm going to sit back down again.
Yes, ma'am.
Kenya, I wanted to ask you, again, I missed it, what was your diagnosis when you were telling your story? And, okay, well, my husband's bipolar. Yes, and, what is CBT?
Dialectical behavior therapy. That for me, because I've taken that one. It's really more hands-on, one-on-one, kind of taking you from the beginning, for me, from the beginning of my diagnosis leading up to where I'm at currently, really being able to go through my feelings and work on healing from it. That's what I see it as. That's what it was for me, not say that, but that's what it was for me. It really gets intense with opening up some wounds that you do not want to go. But for me, if I did not go there, then I still would be holding, like really holding on to a lot of, you know, my past. And even some of my present, not present, but then again, present, yes, because if you're in any type of whatever relationship, knowing that nothing is perfect, but you go through it. If you're in a relationship or if you have a friend and you're going through it, you want to know how to like deal with it. You have to know how, you have to learn. I'm learning how to move forward with healing. I'm not where I want to be at, but I'm not where I was. That's making me.
I had to learn how to put myself first, and it's not, and use the I more than the you. It's not you did this and you caused me to do this, but I accept the
Because
responsibility.
we have to learn how to accept responsibility. We cannot blame it on everybody else, not the other black man, the black woman, excuse no disrespect, the white woman, the white man. Like, we have to start taking and accepting responsibility for ourselves and stop saying, well, you did, okay, you did, but you have to take responsibility. You have to accept responsibility for yourself. And I know sometimes it's very tough love, especially being a mother of 2 kids. I had to stop. I had to say, listen, you're grown. I understand what you've been through, and I know you got a diagnosis, but you're gonna have to handle some things that I have to kind of push back. I can be loving and supporting, but I can't baby you.
How did you get your children to realize that they had problems and needed some sort of therapy?
I told them in the beginning, early on in the beginning. I told them early on, we just, I'm that mother that I don't be like, for me, I don't use the little nicknames. Like, I have to be real honest where you at. Like, this is, and I know, and it hurts, but I have to be real honest, because when you're out there as a young person, and a lot of young people, her age, younger, they're getting traumatized, right? And you just have to start speaking to them. You have to start listening too, because they're not stupid. A lot of them have you have to listen to them. And you just have to, I don't know, maybe it's age appropriate, maybe I wasn't so age appropriate, because my mother did the little baby names, and I didn't get that. So I had to be honest and let them know what the different parts of their body was. I can't explain it, but I had to talk to them so they could understand. And they were at a young age, but I felt like I had to do that so that when as they grew up, they understood what it was, instead of, well, let me sugarcoat it. But that's just me. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's an up north thing, I don't know, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't sugarcoat things either. I believe in approaching it, to take care of it now instead of letting it get worse and worse and worse. And yeah, let's take care of this now. But there's also another therapy called mindfulness.
Mindfulness, yes.
Yeah, and I like that one too, because you can do mindfulness therapy when, learning how to focus on meditation. Mm-hmm. You can meditate and
being in the present.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, you had a question sitting in the back?
Yeah, well, it was more so of a comment. When we were talking earlier about the importance of education, I would like to know if you agree with this. I think the best way to educate the masses of our people is going to have to be through the church. And I'm glad that you said that you go into churches. The reason I say that is because our elders, the older in age you get, then there's ignorance in wanting to sweep it under the rug. But most of our elders, they attend church. Church is a place where you can find many black folks at one place at the same time, and they listen to and respect the pastors, I think education is going to have to be through the church to reach our elders. What do you think of that?
I mean, it won't reach all of the elders, but I think that it will reach I'm sorry.
No, because we're being honest, and thank you. And I'm being honest. That's all how I know how to be. Let me say, I have went through a directory of churches. And I'm not going to say all because that would be wrong, but I can say based on my experience, they have hung up on me. They have turned away from me.
Wow.
They have said no, they don't want to deal with that, and that's the issue. I'm not saying all churches, because all churches are not like that, because that wouldn't be fair. But the ones that I have experienced, I've sent wonderful, cute emails, very professional, spoken professional. Hell, I've even went out to them, professional. They don't, the ones I've dealt with, and I'm talking about these not no little, these are well-known ones I've been to. They don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, I totally understand.
They don't want to deal with it. For the ones that do, I commend, come to me, talk to me. I have an open ear. But a lot of them well-known churches I've hit, they don't want to deal with it. They just don't want to deal with it. And I have had peers come to my group saying that, you know, I attend church, I attend wherever, but mostly church. And I don't know how to, they don't know how to approach the pastor. Or if they've approached the pastor, they've just had a closed eye. They've closed the door. And that's so sad because you're right. That's where a collective of us go, right? And you would think that. And it's just sad that it has to happen for that. I don't know what to say about that, but if you know of any that have an open ear, my number is on that literature that's in that green box. Definitely do. I want to touch everybody.
Dr. King's father's church.
Who?
Ebenezer.
Can I say, we being open, they're one of them that closed that door. Now, maybe I went to the wrong person and talked to them, but if you have a good contact, I will listen.
Wow.
How long ago?
Yeah. This is less than a month ago. This is in this month.
Oh, because about 2 months ago, this was in April, it was a Sunday after Youth Day.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lady from an organization. I don't remember the name of the organization. Yeah, and
Shout out to you guys.
yeah.
Well, certainly, I had the door shut on me, but that could have been the wrong contact. But if there's if there's someone that's a better contact,
You know, the reverend of that church, he would be open to it. Maybe it was the wrong person you spoke
right?
with.
That's what I'm saying. It could have been the wrong person that just kind of shut the phone on me or something. You know, and again, it's not the bash because that's not what I'm here for. I'm just really sharing experience. Like, my Buddhist community. I'm spiritual, but Buddhism is a part of what I do. My Buddhist community have a mental health group. I've even heard other peers talk about they've been to their mosque. They're Muslim because I get a whole realm of different people that have come through. They've been Muslim and their temple has been open. So, I want to reach the church if we can. The Buddhism community, the Islamic community, any community, the jail population. What I can reach. I'm open to suggestions on how to.
I think there are some churches, I know some churches, Charles Stanley Church, they do have counselors who will talk to you, and a few other churches.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what the problem is, the people who talk to you aren't necessarily educated in this enough to be able to help you or even to guide you to groups like this, So you have to educate the people in the church if they're going to try and help somebody. Because I've been to some, and talked to some deacons or sisters or whatever, but they aren't necessarily trained in mental health.
I can try it again. I definitely can come from another approach because I have had those conversations with individuals on how to educate them and send information. So yeah, certainly. I'm open to go another approach.
You know, because we got a lot of homeless people in the street who are mentally ill. Someone was telling me last night that they asked the homeless person about their meds and stuff, and the guy said he didn't want to take them. You know, he liked being homeless, and it's embarrassing to me that I see so many black people in that position. You know, I would really like to see them get help. But in the 70s, when they closed down a lot of institutions and let the people out, you know, they didn't intend to give them any help. And it's just, I do see white people who are out there talking to themselves too.
Oh yeah, like mental illness doesn't have a face on it, doesn't have a shape, a size, a gender preference, or none of that. So I definitely understand where you're coming from and have been homeless on the street as well as in the shelter. There are a lot of our community that don't want to go in, that don't want to get housed for their own personal reasons. They don't want any of that assistance.
When I go to my therapy, which is at Emory, and I come out, I usually grab a whole handful of brochures because I live in a senior citizen facility. And you would be surprised at how many seniors are depressed and don't know how to.
Oh, absolutely.
And Emory has an excellent geriatric behavioral program, you know, just to reach seniors.
Absolutely.
And they can take advantage of it, but, you know, it's hard to get people to take advantage because of the stigma.
Right.
Sometimes it's stigma and then sometimes it's awareness. Because sometimes, like even with NAMI Georgia, some people may not know about it because it's grassroots. We're not all over the multimedia waves going, this is NAMI Georgia or this is NAMI. But what's empowering about NAMI is the fact that it is word of mouth mostly. So people who come in really appreciate it because it's a relationship form. The generational cycles that we talked about earlier, as you were talking earlier, it took me back because it reminded me of like my grandmother, belated grandmother, who was physically abused for years, and it's like from her marriage to my grandfather, who despite all that was going on during the time period of their marriage, I wasn't alert to because I was born years later. They had 8 children. From those 8 children, it's amazing how the impact of what they went through and what the children witnessed, how it impacted all the households, inclusive of my mother's household and from my father's lineage. So I say that simply to say that the conversations help, transparency helps, being able to call a spade, if you will, helps, but also the healing. And that word that I haven't heard a lot of today from neither one of us, or for any of us for that matter, is forgiveness. But forgiveness is a process even in itself. Sometimes we think they go, let's forgive, but we don't understand it. Those pains are so deep. Sometimes it does take counseling. Sometimes it does take a psychiatrist. Sometimes it does take support groups. Sometimes it does take being around a good person who you can really trust and value, or that one friend that you may be able to call up on at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning if you have a night terrors or anything. So it just depends. It's case by case, but at the end of the day, my hope, and Jade, both of ours is hope, and if I leave you all with a takeaway, is don't give up that hope. But, you know, keep and maintain a level of hope, because that's what keeps you going each and every day, and that's capital H-O-P. So.
You have to learn how to be happy again.
Definitely.
And it amazed me that I got in touch with my feelings. You know, like there's so many feelings of happiness, gratefulness that you feel, but you haven't felt them in such a long time because you close yourself off to everything and everybody. You know, so you forget how to be excited. You know, looking for pleasure. And I had to find happiness again. And I have to say to myself, I'm gonna forgive all those people who've made me angry. And that's it. You know, I'm not gonna worry about them anymore. It's all about me. You know, I have to take care of me. Yes, ma'am. At this point.
Well, we thank everyone that was able to attend. I'm glad to see that there were more faces. I was a little concerned, but I'm glad, you know, who was here was meant to be here, and I'm very appreciative for each and every one of you that did come out. Our information is in the bags that you picked up, so you can reach myself or you can reach Joanne. I'm the facilitator for Connection, what is that? Connection, recovery, support, peer-to-peer, something else.
I'm trying to get it out.
Trying to get it out.
You got
that. And also the program board chair, if you're interested in any of the signature programs, my information is on those brochures that's out there. So we thank you so much. If anybody has any questions afterwards, please don't hesitate. I know that we have until 5, so 5 is coming up, so we want to be respectful to the library to get out here on time. Thank you very much, guys.